All right, so what we're going to talk about today is the science of heat or a sauna, shower, hot tub even, right, versus cold, like a cold plunge for metabolic health and recovery. Let's see, let me get this, get Jacob muted here. Let's see. All right, so we're going to be moving from metabolic stagnation. So this is going to be moving from metabolic stagnation and kind of shifting toward hormonal resistance if you decide to use any two of these modalities in your recovery efforts. So the logic and the practice of this. So the logic of it is, hormesis is a stress that heals. So what we're looking at here is a systematic exposure to heat and cold forces your body to adapt, which is going to then improve your mitochondrial function and insulin sensitivity. So now the actual practice of this in a very basic borderline manner is something called the 11:57 protocol. So what you want to do is aim for 11 minutes of cold exposure, get to that actual, shiver point, and then once you do, have 57 minutes of heat, sauna, and sweat per week. So what you could do is obviously, start small. Don't expect that you're going to go stand into a freezing cold shower for 11 minutes, and that's the first time that you've ever done this. The first time that I did a cold shower, I might have lasted, I don't know, 5 seconds in the cold water, and then I had to get out. So yeah, obviously start out small and try to work your way up to that total 11:57 protocol across the week if we're going to, try to get, mitochondrial function improved along with insulin sensitivity, partitioning better as well too. So one thing that we need to look at is the pattern interruption with these modalities. So the main thing is a sensory shock. You need to manually reset your autonomic nervous system. So you guys know that if you step into a very cold shower, it is a shock to your system, right? It's almost like a holy crap, this stings. Or even if you get into a very hot bath or even a sauna, right? Kind of that same sensory shock occurs on the opposite end of, oh my God, this is very hot. I might burn myself. So one thing, or a couple of things that you could do to, kind of manually break this pattern interruption is one is going to be the face dunk. So essentially, you just submerge your face in a bowl of ice water for 15 seconds to trigger the mammalian dive reflex. And what this does is this is going to lower your heart rate and control your breathing and conserve more oxygen for your brains and your lungs to utilize. And this sounds exactly what you think it is. This is just an evolutionary mechanism that would, allow diving mammals essentially to be able to breathe longer underwater. But in doing so, this helps them with, controlling their heart rate, slowing their heart rate down some, increasing the capacity for oxygen to be used inside of the brain as well too. Another one is going to be contrast loading. So this is something like, hot shower for, 2 minutes and then, cutting it to cold for 30 seconds, 3 times on and off. This is something that I like to do a lot, especially at nighttime. Now it's kind of backwards of what you're supposed to do for me personally, I guess maybe because I'm very hot natured as it is, but really and truly, what a lot of people say that you should do is take a very hot shower, before that you get into bed. And then, once you get out, your temperature is very elevated, and your temperature coming down is going to help you go to sleep a lot faster, is what textbook you're supposed to do. Now, for me personally, I'm very hot natured, so if I get out of the shower and I dry off and I don't, and I'm not, I don't know, in a I get out of the bathroom and into, like, the living room, whatever, into a cooler environment pretty quickly, I'll start to sweat personally. So for me, I'll take a hot shower and then cut the cold on. Try to stand there for, it's not 30 seconds, that's for sure. It might be 10. But just get my body cool enough to where once I get out of the shower, dry off, brush my teeth and then into bed, I'm already kind of cold. And to me, that helps me go to sleep. But, in the, effort to try to improve that insulin sensitivity and increase that mitochondrial function, this contrast loading is a good method to try. And then the last one is the vagus nerve hum. A lot of you know what this is. Specifically if you do this during cold exposure, is a good way to reset your parasympathetic nervous system. So essentially, what you do is you need to hum, sing a tune or like hum a tune, that kind of thing for I think the minimum is like 5 minutes, I believe, anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, and that's supposed to activate that vagus nerve inside of your body, and then again bring you back down. All of these are supposed to have a calming effect to them. Is really what these right here, boil down to. Because again, we can kind of all tie this back to if your body is in a very stressed state, fight or flight, right? Insulin sensitivity gets poor. Mitochondrial function is then affected. So again, another tie back, which it seems like every single week we're tying something back to stress. This is another way to help bring that stress load down, and then again, to help that mitochondrial function and your insulin sensitivity as well too. Now, what you could do is start labeling the adaptation. So, while you're doing these cold exposure techniques, you're going to have the thought or just the notion to get uncomfortable, right? I mean, it just is what it is. And so, kind of the brain hacker for this is shifting from this is uncomfortable to this is for a better purpose. This is for for repairing my metabolism. Just hang in there, don't quit just yet. So the shift should be from I am freezing cold, I am burning hot to the I am building resilience mind state to to the point to where like you're trying to, I don't want to say convince yourself, but kind of in a way that you are, that like this is good for me. Quit complaining, just do it and get it over with, right? Which is what a lot of us do when we have to do cardio, right? It's good for you. Shut up, quit complaining, just do it. And so the result, this is going to create that that metabolic flexibility is kind of how I labeled that. Needed to burn fat and manage that stress efficiently, and kind of how this kind of gets tied into that is essentially if you're able to be more mental resilient with this, so you're able to withstand it for the full term or the full duration, right? You're never going to be able to work up to that 11:57 metric if you're always complaining of, oh my God, I'm cold, 4 seconds into the cold shower. Well, yeah, no crap you are, but you're not going to work up to that 11 minutes a week with that mindset. Just kind of have to get in there and embrace the suck and just do it and let it, I don't want to call it magic, but let it do what it needs to do. Um, so how does this actually give us the metabolic edge, right? We've already talked about you get a metabolism, and you're like, what's the correlation between you just using cold water or a hot sauna, whatever, to help get that metabolic edge? So the benefits are going to be the afterburn. So if you think about it, if you get cold and your core body temperature goes down, that cold shock spikes your metabolism. It's going to make your body heat itself back up, right? I mean, that requires energy, so that is going to take some fuel from somewhere, spike your metabolism up to get your body heat back up to where it needs to be. Now, another one is a growth hormone spike. Now, specific sauna sessions can temporarily boost your GH production. So, how this happens is heat stress can stimulate the pituitary gland, which then, in essence, will create more HGH inside of the body. Now, from what I could find, it says that 30 minutes at 176 degrees Fahrenheit is kind of that magic number of where that you need to be at to boost that GH. How does that compare to taking exogenous GH? I don't know. I have no idea. But I guess if you have the time, and if you're like really looking for the boost in GH, this could be something that you could do. Now, granted, I'm unsure of how many times a week that you should do this. I think I read, potentially 3. But again, all this is kind of like there's many very different trains of thought with this. So again, like don't take my word for it and go, sit in the sauna for 3 times, 30 minutes a week, and expect to have your, GH levels in the 4 or 500s. I don't think it would do that, but it will, temporarily boost it for sure. Now another one is controlling your muscle soreness or your DOMS. So that contrast therapy, that cold, hot, on and off in the shower example, is going to flush that lactic acid and reduce soreness. So that's another a good way to kind of expedite that recovery process and get things going. By doing that, cold exposure, hot, and then repeat those 3 times. So just a little challenge for you guys this week. Every single shower this week should end with 30 to 60 seconds of max cold. This is to prove that you can control the panic and the thought process inside of your head. Right now, granted, if you do this the first time and you've never done it before, and you can get past 30 seconds, you probably need to message me because I probably need to pick your brain on that because that's pretty impressive. But start out at maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Eventually, try to work your way up to that full 30 seconds of just standing in the coldest water that will come out of your faucet, and just see if you can actually do it. Stand in there and prove it to yourself that you can. And then 1 to 2 sessions a week of intense heat, whether that's sauna, a hot bath, a steam room, whatever the case may be. And then I kind of wanted to add this at the end too. A lot of this stuff is uncomfortable, right? And we all know. I mean, you're all in this program to improve your health in some aspect, right? Comfort is a slow decline. Discomfort is a rapid repair. So if you think of these modalities as this is a discomfort that is going to lead me to a rapid repair and further away from a slower decline, watch 30 seconds in the shower, 1 time a day. Well, I guess if I'm thinking of it at night, but after every shower, I guess 30 seconds. What is that in the grand scheme of things? If that's going to help you improve your health and longevity, from a standpoint of recoverability. So, I guess with that, does anybody have anything to add on that topic? Anybody have any experience with cold plunges, heat exposure? Anybody have a cold plunge at their house? I mean, anybody got anything to add to that at all? And I'll start off. Oh, well, I'm thinking about it. I don't have a cold plunge here, but one time I'm not sure if I tore my lat, but I did something to it probably a year or so ago, maybe, to where like it was very painful to even lift my arm up. And we went to the gas station. I bought 2 bags of ice and then filled the bathtub up like halfway up with cold water. Put both bags of ice in there, got in it, and it still was not cold enough. So I had to go back and get like 3 more bags of ice. I think I ended up having like $15 worth of ice in the damn thing. And then it was so cold that I couldn't stay in it longer than like 2 minutes, and I was miserable. So I'm definitely not the poster child trying to promote cold therapy because I haven't practiced it enough to say that I'm good at it. But I know people that do the cold plunge every morning. Especially in the wintertime, they have to take a hammer and beat the top of the thing to break the ice off of, and that's just not me. Um, I like hot tubs. So anybody got anything to add to that?
The only question I'd ask is, I know that you've talked before in the past about like not doing, I think it was like not doing cold plunges or anything after a workout.
Yep.
Would you say that like kind of the same thing with this, like to kind of keep it away from immediate like
Yeah,
post
I
workout?
think the last time that I looked into that, I'm pretty sure it was keep any kind of cold exposure 8 hours from a training session. Now, I don't know if you could constitute that 30 seconds of cold exposure to actual count as like 8, that's too much kind of thing. But I think that more or less could be related to like actually you getting into a full submersible cold plunge. I
Gotcha.
would say I wouldn't think that 30 seconds in the cold after you just took a
Yeah.
hot shower would negate all of your, or it would take away all the good information that you just got
Gotcha.
from training.
Yeah.
So,
Gotcha. Yeah. I know before, whenever I've like gone to crunch before and regularly worked out there, I would use their sauna for like 20 minutes or so, and then I'd flip over to a shower and do like a cold shower
yeah,
for a couple times there.
yeah.
Now, I mean, it's been a while since I've done that, but
Yeah, I
in
wouldn't. Like I said,
past,
I don't think that short of duration would matter. I
yeah,
mean, I know people doing cold plunges for like 10 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
But I think you could probably look at it, from the standpoint of, and this would just be like purely out of, curiosity. If you was to do something like that, is take your temperature before you got into to the shower, did your whole hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, and then once you got out and dried off, take your temperature again. See what your core temp is, and if it poured it down too low, then that could be something there. But I would say it'd probably be probably the exact same. I would say
Got
it
you.
probably
Yeah.
wouldn't vary a whole lot. So
Got you.
I didn't realize how much ice it would take to get my bath water to like 30 something degrees. Like I
Oh
thought,
yeah.
oh, 2 bags would be enough. I was like, okay, and then I put 2 bags in there, and it all like just
Nothing.
like melted. I was like, what the hell? Now I got to go back and buy like 3 more bags, and then I
Oh yeah.
used all the ice in my fridge. I'm like, yeah, this is a one time thing. I'm not spending $15 every time I want to take a
Yeah.
cold plunge.
No.
Um, Anybody else got anything?
You can't do whatever you want, though, John?
Well, if not, I appreciate you guys showing up. Um, if you decide to try any of these modalities, let me know. Um, I will say, after writing this up last week, I have tried the cold shower a couple times. I have not made it the full 30 seconds yet, but I'm working on it. But if anybody's got any other questions or anything, please don't hesitate